The most stressful interview I've ever done was with Iggy Pop. It took us months and months to get the interview, and once we got it, we only had a small window of time to do it. So we flew down to Florida, and we were on our way to his man cave in the swamps outside of Miami, and we got stuck on the expressway for like an hour and a half. And in Canada, we do not have those kinds of expressways, and we had no idea what was going on. Finally, we got off, found our way to his place. We were almost 2 hours late, and thankfully, Iggy Pop is a very patient man, and it ended up being one of the best interviews I ever did. So here you go. Here's a history lesson courtesy of Iggy Pop. Everyone rolling? Yeah. Iggy Pop, take one. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, sure.
For tolerating our Canadian tardiness. We do not have express lanes like that in Ontario. We're trapped.
But you've got Rush.
Yes.
So.
We've always got that in our pocket. This is a show about the evolution of heavy music. Call it hard rock, call it heavy metal,
Sure.
Call it punk. We could debate genres and titles. But I wanted to go back to the late 60s and start with a general question. Why do you think so much music at that time was moving in a heavier, more intense, more volatile direction? There's Iggy and the Stooges, MC5, Blue Cheer, and on and on and on. Why do you think that was happening?
The weapons were getting heavier. Food was getting heavier. The cars were getting heavier. And in America, at least, the population was becoming unleashed. It was probably the freest population of young people in world history. Yeah, when I was 18 in 1965, if you wanted a job, you just looked in the paper, and then you went to 2 or 3 places and took your pick. I mean, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
Everything was different than it had ever been. And so I think a combination of this combination of insidious material stresses and invidious personal freedom came together, created sparks.
And obviously this spark was igniting you too, as a musician and as a performer. Can you tell me how this surrounding was inspiring you to create something with a heaviness and intensity?
Well, I learned to play drums in the school orchestra, and by the time I was 13, I had my own kit, and I realized, whoa, I've got a weapon. And I was 14, I played in the school talent show. I called our group the Megaton 2. I already was thinking in that direction. That was in 1963. And from there, you just naturally, I liked the sounds that were coming from the toughest sounding garage music, like the Kingsmen, Louie Louie, Farmer John, even the toughest sounding instrumental surf music from the Wailers in the Northwest, Tall Cool One by the Wailers. That and the heavier black stuff, not Motown, but Stax Volt and James Brown. What these people, the heavy funk was coming in too, and that just made me feel like it had an inner unstated message of the ability to create, to assert myself in a primal way, to take the sex when I wanted it, to take money when I wanted it, but ignore the larger, and forget about it, to be somebody.
And it seems that the flower power, the power of the flower, was dissipating. That mentality, that philosophy of change through peace was maybe waning, and there was a fire instead.
The power of the flower was genuine in some people, and they were a tiny minority, and the rest of it was a phony hierarchical movement that produced some of the worst music in popular history. And it was enough to nauseate any young person with self-respect and who aspired to any taste whatsoever.
Arguably, Woodstock set in this motion that you can make a lot of money off music.
Well,
In
exactly.
the 70s, you see the labels professionalize, you see radio professionalize, you see promoters professionalize.
Yes.
You see this whole shift. The 70s becomes all about the money.
There was this whole, all of a sudden, in about 1975, in came this bunch of guys, and they had baseball caps, shorter hair, big thick necks. They were like on the football team in high school, but not in college. And they swept in and took over all the responsible positions in the industry side of rock and roll. Suddenly, they were the tour managers, the sound equipment guys, the tour bus drivers, the guy running the Grammys, Michael Green. It was this whole older frat boy mindset, and they were the radio programmers, little bit pushy, frighteningly sane, Yeah. God, I hate those pricks. And they took over, and they pretty well, they had 25 years, and they made a lot of money out of ruining American music and rejecting the good music in favor of the shit until about the year 2000. And now it's over.
I know you're a big fan of the blues. What's the connective tissue between the blues greats and metal of today?
Blues greats are stiff-necked troublemakers. Childish, egotistical, drug-ridden, alcohol-plagued, sexually wanton troublemakers.
And they played some pretty mean riffs
And they
too.
played some mean shit. Yeah, and they could walk it like they talked it.
How has the blues influenced you as a vocalist, as a performer, as a lyricist?
My first 3 or 4 records we did, I took most of the building blocks of the lyrics and the phraseology are from blues. So it's the phrase, like there's a little Walter song called My Babe. My babe, don't stand no cheating, my babe. And then in the Stooges it comes out, no fun, my babe, no fun. I Want to Be Your Dog is me mishearing. There's a Baby Please Don't Go lick, and then he's saying, I thought he was saying, I want to be your dog. I found out later he's actually saying, ain't gonna be your dog, or before I'll be your dog, or don't dog be around. But so those building blocks are just very, very sturdy. Those are lovely materials to work with.
Right.
But basically there's a kind of a trance. There's a trance the blues puts you in when it's done well. And that was what our group picked up on, and that's what the best metal has to offer above anything else.